Suppose he marked his starting point here.
Nico, how old are you going to be?
3.
3?
On the morning of his departure, he put his planet in perfect order. He believed that he would never want to return. She did not want him to see her crying.
The 3-dimensional color pictures are extraordinary.
You are the only man on your planet.
Birthday to you. Give it low.
Make a wish.
Make a wish.
Even mine. Watch out. Good boy.
Good.
He found himself near a planet inhabited by a king.
Pardon me, sire. May I pay you a visit?
I order you to do so.
Nico, Pico. Look at your finger.
In the desert, where the little prince came to Earth, there wasn't a single grown-up to be seen. He was beginning to be afraid he had come to the wrong planet.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
Because that's what they ordered.
What?
Hey, 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 hey. Wrong. Like.
Okay, Nico, open this one. See, I have to be Alex. See how she marks his way.
Nico, can I see your new shoes? Oh, Air Jordans.
Happy Rockhead, Blue Bear.
Okay, you want to look another one?
Yeah, totally.
Ah, you come from far away. You are an explorer. We geographers are too busy writing books to explore. You shall describe your planet to me.
Just a minute, just.
Yeah, a Blue Bear will.
What does that mean? Ephemeral.
It means that which is in danger of speedy disappearance. We write of eternal things.
Is my flower in danger of speedy disappearance?
Certainly it is.
Suppose he marked his starting point here
Nico, how old are you going to be?
and set off to explore his universe.
This GAFU mess is a lot of fun.
He never turns around, and he never reaches an edge. He doesn't know that his apparently flat universe is actually curved into an enormous sphere. He doesn't sense that he's walking around a globe. Why should his space be curved? Because there's so much matter in this universe that it gravitationally warps space, closing it back on itself into a sphere. But our flatlander doesn't know this. After a long while, you'll find he somehow returns to his starting point. There must be a third dimension. Our flatlander couldn't imagine a third dimension, but he could sure deduce it. Now, increase all the dimensions in this story by 1, and you have something like the situation which many cosmologists think may actually apply to us.
I cannot carry this body with me. It is too heavy. But it will be like an old abandoned shell. And there is nothing sad about old shells. Here it is. Let me go on by myself. You know, my flower, I'm responsible for her. And she is so weak. She has 4 thorns of no use at all to protect herself against all the world.
He hesitated a little and drew his breath. He took 1 step. I could not move.
The ground beneath our feet is the surface of a planet whirling at thousands of miles an hour around a distant sun. Our life is possible only because of the light and warmth of that sun, a star. Yet the sun which shines on us is only one out of billions of such stars in the universe. A mirror over 6 feet in diameter, with its surface shaped to within 1/millionth of an inch, will catch the light from a star. This light will be reflected from the large mirror onto a smaller one, which in turn will focus it back into a camera at the base of the telescope. Out of the study of hundreds of thousands of observations, astronomers have pieced together an accurate picture of the universe. Beyond the appearance of starshine and moonbeam, what will the first men to leave the Earth find? Enough is now known that we can, in imagination, journey into these spaces. $250,000 miles away, the moon. This is the moon that men have worshipped as a goddess, that countless lovers have sighed over and sworn by. It will take immense courage to journey to this place, for on this pitted and pocked ball of pumice and stone, there is no atmosphere, no air to breathe, no sound to hear. By day, the sun's heat would boil water, if there were water. At night, 240 degrees below zero. Unshielded, a man couldn't live here for 2 minutes. But if he were to die, his body would lie unchanged through thousands of years, for nothing grows and nothing decays. If you were to hover in space beyond the moon, speeding up in imagination its movement, you would see a majestic procession in the sky. As the moon circles the Earth, so the Earth itself circles the sun. The sun is the center of a system of 9 heavenly bodies, called planets, which wheel around it in vast orbits, trapped by its gravitational pull. Closest to it, the tiny planet, Mercury. On the surface of Mercury, the temperature is hot enough to melt lead, for one face of it is turned perpetually to the sun, only 36 million miles away. If we looked outward from Mercury, we would see the second closest planet, Venus, shining brighter than the much more distant stars. Venus, in orbit 31 million miles further out from the Sun, is a mystery, for its face is veiled by dust storms, or perhaps dense cloud. Looking outward from Venus, the most brilliant and beautiful object in the sky would be a planet in orbit 25 million miles still further out, Earth. Beyond Earth, shining redly in the night, Mars. Colder than Earth and smaller, this is the planet men have looked on and wondered whether they are alone in the heavens. It is reasonably certain that the markings on its surface, bluish green in the Martian summer, turning rusty brown in the autumn, indicate vegetation. Here, however, the atmosphere has almost no oxygen, and no creatures like men could live here, 140 million miles from the Sun. In the place past Mars, where there should theoretically be a planet, there are only the asteroids, small bodies ranging from boulders to chunks 300 miles across, hundreds of them swinging in orbit about the Sun. "500 million miles out from the Sun, the giant planet Jupiter, ruling 12 moons. Jupiter, seen here from one of its moons, is larger than all the other planets put together. Its atmosphere is 1,000 miles deep, a poisonous mixture of methane gas, ammonia, and hydrogen, which at the bottom must have the density of water. Here, under the enormous pressure of the atmosphere, a human being would be crushed beyond recognition. These are the rings of Saturn, bands 10,000 miles wide, composed of almost an infinity of meteoric particles of gravel and ice circling the sixth planet. Saturn, with its 9 moons, is so far from the Sun that it takes 30 Earth years to circle it. And here the temperature never rises above 240 degrees below zero. And if we were to plunge still further out, hundreds of millions of miles, past the planet Uranus, beyond Neptune, we would finally come to the last of the known planets, to the dwarf Pluto, named for the god of the underworld. Its surface moves in perpetual darkness and unimaginable cold, for the Sun is 4 billion miles away, only a starry speck in the sky. If we looked more deeply into space, leaving behind us the Earth and the whole of our solar system, and traveled at the speed of light, it would take 4 years before we came to even the closest of the billions of suns scattered through stellar space. Although the stars are suns, many of them are unlike our sun. Some, like Beta in the constellation Lyra, instead of planets, have a second sun swinging around them. There are multiple suns, like Castor in the constellation Gemini. There are giant suns 5,000 times as large as ours, and dwarfs, in which 1 cubic inch of matter weighs 40 tons. Suns rotating so rapidly that pinwheels of gas are thrown off, weighing more than our whole system of planets. Suns that over a period of days or hours pulse as their internal nuclear processes change. Rare suns in which the temperature reaches 5 billion degrees, where nuclear fusion makes elements as heavy as iron and results in the enormous explosion of a nova or supernova. Now, years of patient work have revealed a pattern in the universe. A pattern beyond anything we could have imagined looking at the heavens with the naked eye. With data sifted from countless painstaking observations, astronomers are now filling in the details of a pattern so vast that everyday ideas of distance and time cannot encompass it. If we could move with the freedom of a god, so that 1,000,000 years pass in a second, and if we went far enough, past the nearest suns, beyond the star clouds and nebulae, in time they would end, and as if moving out from behind a curtain, we would come to an endless sea of night. But when we look this deeply into space, we are looking at a ghostly image of the distant past, for the light by which we see these regions started traveling towards us long before the dawn of life on Earth. In all of time, on all the planets of all the galaxies in space, what civilizations have risen, looked into the night, seen what we see, asked the questions that we ask?